So recently I was over at the bank and I was dealing with some bankers, and it inspired me to want to make a video about decentralized assets. So let's talk about how Bitcoin is not gold and what is the difference between Bitcoin and gold. I've got a little bit of a unique perspective on this because obviously my bias comes from precious metals. I'm a precious metal stacker. I own an auction house. I own mineral exchange. Obviously, I hold this bias here for silver and gold, but I also know quite a bit about Bitcoin. And I hate to see not only the divide, but the lack of understanding between the two. I still see Bitcoin as a very skeptical thing. I still see it as a bit of an insurance play for a decentralized portfolio. None of this is financial advice, got to say that real quick. But when I'm talking with bankers and I'm dealing with the specific problem that I'm dealing with and why I feel like I'm an expert on this subject is figuring out these different payment methods on how to get money in after an auction is finished. So when an auction finishes on Mineral Exchange, currently we can do wire transfers, we can do ACHs, we can do checks. E-checks is a new up-and-coming thing where you can email someone a check, but they have to set up with that e-check company prior, which is a little bit of a hassle, but that seems to be the up-and-coming thing right now. But all in all, when you're a business that's accepting larger amounts of money or even smaller amounts of money, specifically larger amounts though, because let's say in bullion, your margin might be 3% and then PayPal goods and services might charge you 3% to do that payment peer-to-peer. And what is PayPal really doing in that situation? Well, they're being somewhat of an escrow, and they make it so that you can get your money from somebody else. And is that really worth 3% though? So if you buy something for 10 grand, is it really worth dropping $300 just to send that 10 grand from what's like, it's my money. I just wanted to send him 10 grand. Well, why are you sending him 10 grand? What are you buying with that 10 grand? And then you go to one of these banks and you're over talking with these bankers and they're like, so what do you need this money for again? Well, it's none of your business, Mr. Banker. Mind your business. And then they go and like, oh, none of my business, right? I know all of us have been there. And it's just crazy to me how hard we have to work to move our money around. It would almost seem that it's made that way by design to make it hard to move money around. When you really look at it, you go, okay, well, a wire transfer, how do I make a wire transfer perfect? And I'm going to get in this video, I'm going to go into detail on how I see the difference between silver and gold and Bitcoin on a cold storage. And there's a very big difference there. So the first thing I'm going to say, I'm looking at some of the comments here. Radian says friends and family. Actually, PayPal just got rid of friends and family. So I'd look into that. I'd bust out the Google and look into that real quick because they actually just changed that to only goods and services. So now they have to get their 3% and there is no way around it. Yeah, it is that. So the way I would describe Bitcoin is there has to be something better than a wire transfer in the future. There has to be something where I don't have to go to a bank and go like, oh, wait, how do I change? I'm trying to think about how I could make this simplified and make it easy for somebody. What would be, if you were to do, everyone in here has probably done a wire transfer. If you were to perfect the wire transfer system, what would you do? This is what I would do. I would say, I want the ability to do a wire transfer on a Saturday at midnight, if I so choose to. Saturday at midnight, if I want. And I would like the ability to do it at any given time. So I don't want to wait until 9 a.m. until your bank opens on a business day. I'd like to do it any given time at any given place. And I would like to not have to do the account number, the routing number, the business address, the bank address, all the different information for a wire transfer. I don't want to have to do all that. I just like to copy and paste and boop, send it on its way. I'd also like an instant confirmation. So when I send a wire transfer in the collectibles business, when I sell a big high-end collectible, and this happened literally last week, where I'm going, oh, please, I got a $12,000 wire landing, got a $20,000 wire landing, got another $5,000 wire landing. Please, wires, just land. I don't know when they're going to land. I'm hoping they hit the account. But I would love, if I was going to perfect the wire transfer system, I would love to get an instant confirmation. It doesn't have to be available in my account right away, but I want to know that that money's pending. I want to know that that person sent it, they sent it to the right place, and it's on the way to me. I don't get that currently with the wire transfer system. That is how I would improve that system. I'd go, okay, I want to see at least, so the second they send the wire, I want at least a soft confirmation to go, it's on the way, Rob. It's headed to Mineral Exchange. It's on the way. They don't do that. We have to hope and pray that it gets there, and they didn't mess up a number or something like that. And then when it gets to its final destination, you want to make sure that it is actually a done deal. That is the current problem with checks. That is the problem in wire transfers. I believe there's like a few hours or about 24 hours where the transaction can be reversed. But ultimate settlement is key, and that's a problem with PayPal as well. Some scammers will wait until they get the product sent to them, and then they'll try to say that they didn't get it or something along those lines. That doesn't happen too often, but ultimate settlement, where there is no going back, is a very big deal in payments. So the reason I describe it that way is because if I'm going to do a perfect platform to send peer-to-peer in the digital realm, it would be that kind of a wire transfer. An instant soft confirmation at any given time with not having to get approval from anybody else to get access to my funds. I don't want to have to get approval from anybody. It's my money. I want to use it whenever I want. And that is how I would describe what Bitcoin is. The problem with Bitcoin is it's just crazy volatility. I mean, it went from 4,000 to over 60,000, back down to 17,000, and now it's back up at 22,000. So it's so volatile that it can't be that right now. But my hope in the future is that it can get to a level where it gets, say it got to $1 million a coin or something like that in the future, and it just kind of flatlined for a little bit, and people could act, and it wasn't as volatile, and it got more stable. That would be an incredible, I hope that it does that. I don't know if it's going to do that. I don't know if Bitcoin will go to zero or not. And that's why I don't look at Bitcoin as something as it's going to make or break me. I've always looked at it as it's foolish to go all in, and it's equally foolish to have none. That's how I've always looked at Bitcoin. Now, what's the difference between gold and Bitcoin? Well, we from the gold industry know a lot about the history of money because of this brick of gold right here. Gold is money, and it's always been money, and it always will be money. It always will be considered valuable. Why is that? Well, there's proof of work here. You know that some miner worked really hard to get this gold together, refine it, and put it in this gold brick here. Now, the key difference that is often overlooked is, let's talk about what happened over in Switzerland, right? They just accepted Russian gold. Nobody knows how much they accepted. They're saying they accepted some amount, but there is no memory to this. There is no ledger to this. We don't know how much gold is in Fort Knox. We do not know how much gold other countries own. We do not know how much gold is in Switzerland. We don't even know if they actually accepted Russian gold. We have no idea. And that is both the beauty of gold and also why gold can't be digital. Because the second, and this is literally time and time again, I've turned down the advertisement, these people that want me to advertise for their blockchain-based gold company, or their blockchain-based silver company, or whatever they're trying to do, is they're basically trying to say, I want to be the custodian. I hold your gold. I hold your silver, and I'll give you a digital token against it. Yeah, that's never gone wrong before in the past, everybody. This sounds like a great idea. We give them the gold. Don't take the custody of the gold. Don't hold this gold. Give it to them. They promise me some kind of interest rate, or they're going to do something for me. They hold my gold, and then I give up custody of it, and they're going to give me some digital token against it to use on a blockchain, some kind of ledger system, right? I think that's the most foolish thing ever. There hasn't been a time that has ever worked. Every time we've trusted a custodian, they've ran off with the gold and ruined it. So the truth is, we can't digitize gold. As much as I would love to see that happen, I would love to see it done right, I truly do not believe it could ever be digitized. And that is both a bad thing and a great thing with gold. Because when I hold this gold bar, there is no ledger system. There is nobody to know this gold bar exists at this place at this exact time or anything like that. We don't know how much gold is everywhere. We have no idea. That's another thing that not enough people talk about is we can Google it, and people can say, oh, we know there's this much gold over there in Fort Knox, and there's this much gold over there in this country, and there's this. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. For all we know, one of these countries has way more gold than the U.S. has. And for all we know, the U.S. might have more gold than everybody else. Or the U.S. has no gold. Who knows how much gold everybody has? We don't know how much gold the Saudis have. We don't know how much gold the Russians have, how much the Chinese have. We have no idea how much gold is out there. There is no memory. So what is money today? What is money today? Money today is just this ledger system. It's basically a ledger, a digital ledger of transactions. And they're saying there's this much in this wallet, this much in this wallet, this account has this much, and let's make it very hard for them to move this ledger of money around. Let's make it very hard for this person to send 10,000 to that person. And if this person wants to send 10,000 of this fake ledger system of Ponzi money, if he wants to send it to her or she wants to send it to him or whatever wants to send it to wherever, we want to know a documented trail of all of that. And if it's over 10,000, I want you to, and it's over 600 now, I want you to get there on your banker typer, get typing away as a banker over there at whatever bank you're at. So they want to have documented transactions. And then the problem, though, with this current ledger and this current digital system is there is an ability to inject more into the ledger system. There is an ability for people to basically that run the show, call them the Fed. They can just inject whatever they want into this ledger. And that's why we see, and I got some charts and stuff over here I'm going to show in the video, but that's why we see them changing the M1 supply from 4 trillion to over 21 trillion. They can inject money into this ledger and change the numbers around. And so it's not a true fair digital system. So I know gold can't be digitized because I can't trust a custodian. It's that simple. I will never trust a digital gold. I don't want my gold or my silver in SLV or some gold stock or some gold mining stock. I don't want it there because I don't have custody of it. And this is where I disagree with Peter Schiff and why I created my company, Mineral Exchange. Because as I continue to grow Mineral Exchange, right now we're doing a lot of more rare stuff on the site. And I'm sure if you checked out the mineralexchange.com, you'll see that I'm doing more rare stuff over there. But I'm slowly getting into more modern bullion or just common stuff to see what the premiums really are, because I want to be an exchange for peer-to-peer in gold and silver, a place where it can be validated and sent out to somebody else. Somebody can send it in, get it sent out to somebody else. I'm trying to help facilitate those transactions in gold and silver. But basically, the reason for that all and the reason for my company is I don't believe in the person giving up their custody. Now, if somebody wants to sell with me, somebody wants to consign with me, they have to give up the custody for a week. So you got to trust me for a week, which is still iffy. It's still iffy. You know, I still don't like the idea that you got to trust me for a week with your stuff, because I like you to have true custody. But that's the only way to do this, is to send it in, send it out, send it in, send it out. And you'd have the ability to exchange custody, because the true beauty of gold and silver is to actually own it, to actually have it on your table, not for you to trust me with it on my table, but for you to have it on your table at home, to put it into your safe, to hide it wherever you need to hide it. And there's no memory. There is no ledger system of that. You have your proof of work. Your money is sitting there where you should have it. You should have true custody of your money. And I do not believe in the idea of people giving up their custody to some other entity. And I don't believe in it being in somebody else's vault, which is just crazy to me that people still get away with that. And now that I've explained the difference between Bitcoin and gold, I hope I've made it very clear that Bitcoin is just a beautiful wire transfer system. It's just a software that makes it the ability for people to have a digital way to transact, a digital way to move their asset without having to deal with the bank's crap. And having it outside of the dollar, there's all of these different ledger systems of fake currencies out there, whether it's the dollar, whether it's the yen, the yuan, the ruble, all of these different currencies out there. They basically are these ledger systems that anyone can inject into the ledger. Anyone can change the numbers up and mess with that ledger system. Bitcoin is is a ledger system away from all of that has a hard cap at 21 million, and it basically you can transact in that ledger system. Now, is it going to succeed? I have no idea. I don't have all the answers. Could it go to zero? Maybe. It might. I hope not. But my hope is that the world would be a beautiful place if there was a digital money. It doesn't. The thing is, that's why it's so different than gold and silver. It's so different than a collectible. It can never be tangible. Bitcoin. It's just a hope that there's a digital money out there that doesn't have to be connected to a fiat currency, and people can transact within that currency, that outside asset from these other ledger systems. And it should be that way. If you really think about it, like if you want a good ledger system, you want it to have a hard cap. You want the ability to trade peer-to-peer, the ability to validate it on your own node, the soft confirmation so you know it's on the way. When you send Bitcoin from one wallet to another, it doesn't get there immediately. Sometimes it gets there pretty quick, but you at least know it's on the way. You get that soft confirmation that I was talking about earlier. That's the things that that make me inspired with Bitcoin. It's like I hope that it does succeed. I think that the world would be a much better place if it does succeed. Will it succeed? I have no idea. It could go to zero, could fail. It is very possible. At this point, it doesn't look very likely that it's going to fail, but it could go to zero. So I'm not one of those individuals that goes, oh, I'm going to be all in this. I'm all in Bitcoin, nothing else. All in gold, nothing else. All in silver, nothing else. Now, I've made clickbaity videos like that, but I went into detail in those videos on why it's a percentage position in my portfolio. But that's how I look at it. And that's how I always will look at it, is that I hope that there will be a ledger system like Bitcoin. And I'm happy that it exists, to be honest with you. I'm happy that hopefully it grows into being a much better wire transfer system that I don't have to deal with being in dollars. I don't have to deal with a banker anymore. And once you experience doing larger amounts of wire transfers or dealing with checks or dealing with peer-to-peer payments, that's when you start to realize, oh, wait a minute. There's a beauty to this. Their ledger system is very corrupt with this USD. That's a very corrupt ledger system. This ledger system is not very corrupt. This ledger system doesn't care about what the Fed does. This ledger system doesn't care about what another currency does. It's just the same thing. It's going to wake up in the morning, do the same thing. It's 24/7, but a 24/7 ledger system that nobody has to approve other than yourself. I mean, that's pretty beautiful. You want something like that in the future. And gold is a completely different thing. Gold it's the ability to actually take custody of your asset and hold it in your own hand. And it's the same thing as if you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's literally the saying with precious metals. If you don't hold it, you don't own it, right? Same thing with Bitcoin is if it's not your keys, not your coins. But the difference is the key is in your head. You're talking about storing your digital money because the key is your password. Only you have the password to your Bitcoin, but only you can hold your metals. So it really is that simple of a difference. And it cracks me up that not enough people know that. It's just, and coming from the metals game, this is something that Peter Schiff would never debate me. Peter Schiff will never debate me because I'm too big of a fan of his. I like Peter Schiff. I think everything that he talks about is on point. I guess this is the one thing I don't agree with, is he's always pushing to give up your custody. Peter Schiff pushes for people to give up their custody. Trust this mining stock. Trust me to put it into some digital nothingness stock here and hope that you can get it in the future. Hope that they remain solvent. Why are you preaching to give up custody? That is not the way it will work. The only way to actually change the system is to strip the system of their fake money and change it for real money. That's the only way. And if people give up their custody, they give up their power. If you want to be sovereign, if you want to change, the monetary system, you have to take custody of it. So if you leave your Bitcoin in some custodian, just by the way, because from precious metals, we knew better. People who stack physical precious metals knew better than to trust some Celsius network. Here's something fun to look up. If you want to pull another tab on your screen and look up Celsius network, I actually could probably pull it up in this live feed. I want to show you guys some stuff over here on my screen as well. But we know better from gold because we've trusted custodians before in the past with gold. And every time we've trusted a custodian, they stole it. It's literally happened time and time again. Here's an IOU note. We'll give you some interest or we'll do something for you. We'll pay you some amount, some fixed amount. We take the gold. Oh, now it's our gold and you're using IOU notes. It's happened time and time again. It doesn't change. But still, people from Bitcoin trusted these different companies. I forget what the name is of this one that just happened. There's Celsius Network, and then there's another one that I think his name is like Duquan or something like that. Another one of these coins was offering, or this service was offering, it was a stable coin service, TerraCoin was offering a stable coin service. We hold your Bitcoin and we'll pay you out 20% year over year. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? We'll give you 20% year over year. What could go wrong? We'll give you this amount of percent year over year. We hold your keys. We hold your Bitcoin. And you know what happened? They lost it. They went bankrupt and they're losing it. Or I believe they're on their way to bankruptcy if they haven't already gone bankrupt. So if you don't hold it, you don't own it. If it's not your keys, not your coins, the similarities is that you need to take custody of it. Bitcoin, you can take custody of it in the digital realm. Gold and silver, you can take custody of it in the physical realm. I don't see what the hatred is about. I've done too many wire transfers, and I have to deal with too much of dealing with these different payment gateways. If the whole world operated on Bitcoin and there wasn't fiat currencies and it was just Bitcoin, I mean, how much better would business be? Everybody could just boop their money over to everybody else and just boop, boop, and just it would be so much easier to settle funds. And then the funds are ultimately settled. There is no revoking the funds. There is no people to meddle with those funds. And so it's like, that's something that I wish was possible. But now we have Venmo and Cash App and Zelle. Zelle is their newest one where they're trying to compete a little bit, but they still put caps on that. And with the business Venmo and the business Cash App and the business peer-to-peer that we have, they charge that 3-4%. They want that 3-4% fee, and that's too much. That's way too much money to give up 3-4%, especially on high-priced items. So the only ways to transact in high-priced items is check, wire, ACH, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. If you want to keep the fees low, there isn't really any other way around. When you're talking about over $5,000, it's rough. And why isn't there a payment network why haven't they made it easier for people to move their money peer-to-peer? It's like, you think about it. All of this money is back to nothing anyway. We have a digital network of fiat currency that is back to nothing, and it's that hard to move it from one bank to the other? Are we really going to buy that? Are we really going to keep believing this BS narrative that these banks keep giving us? Oh, yeah, well, there's a lot of work that goes into a wire transfer. No, it's not. This account of fake money wants to send this amount of fake money to that account of fake money. Is it really that big to make this big circus show of account routing, bank information, their information? Like, that doesn't need to happen. You could just copy paste. It's crazy. It's crazy. The whole situation is absolutely nuts when it comes to payment networks. But I want to show you guys some stuff over here on the screen. So let me show you. So shout out to this Shadow Stats website. I want to give them another shout out. So I highly recommend checking out Shadow Stats. I was looking at some of these charts over here, and just how much they can affect. So basically, when you realize that it's just a ledger system, and right now the ledger system is currently roughly $21 trillion in this ledger. They've injected so much money into the system, it's unbelievable. So this is M2 supply, and it's talking. This is year over year percentage change of how much the money supply has grown, and this is how much the percentage change has happened since 2020. That is the percentage change in M2 going up to that level. Like it's insane how much money has been injected into this ledger, so to speak. Wait, I think I'm in the way. There we go. So this is what I'm like. The amount of percentage change right here is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Then you look at M1. This is the M1 supply. You see what it's done from 2020 to where we are today, 2022, and you just see the percentage change out all of a sudden out of nowhere. They were able to inject that much money into the system and completely change that ledger. And so the fact that they're able to do that with fiat is unbelievable to me. It's astonishing, especially when you have a national debt that looks like that. I mean, come on, it's just insane. The whole system just blows my mind. And meanwhile, the people that are this far in debt have that big of an eyeglass on us. Oh, you want to move 10,000 to this individual? You want to spend 10,000, move it there? Okay, well, let's make it very hard to do that, but also let's make sure that's all very documented. Let's make sure there's a very big trail on all of that. These bankers do a write-up on you. If you want to move money around, we can be almost 31 trillion in debt. We can do that. It's no problem for us to do that. We have no idea where we're going to get this money from. Hopefully you can pay it up, but let's make sure that everybody else has a big eyeglass on them. So let me go through the trading view here. So here's gold's chart. I wanted to also talk about the volatility with Bitcoin. So gold is back up. It's actually, what's crazy about this whole situation is gold is actually under its highs of 2011. Its highs of 2011 was 1926, and now it's down to 1740. So it's even down from its highs of 2011, which is insane. And this is likely due to the growth in the DXY. I'd imagine the DXY is just sitting up there extremely lofty. And so when the dollar's up like this, if we pull back, let me go to the 1 year range on this chart. If you go back to the 1 year here, it's just sitting up there so lofty on the dollar index, which is basically artificially saying that the dollar is strong right now when it's really not. But for some reason, we're seeing the dollar looking like it's stronger and stronger and stronger, which makes it seem like you can use your dollars to get more gold, which is why gold is so cheap. But I just don't see this lasting. I don't see the DXY being able to sit up there with the competition that's looming right now. If there's so much things that could happen with another currency jumping into the reserve currency mix that I just don't see the dollar index sitting up there at these lofty levels. If somebody decides to compete and become a reserve currency, which they already are, one of the things that I'm surprised that not enough people are talking about is Powell came out and said there's room for another reserve currency, and meanwhile, these other countries are acting as a reserve currency. Like, it's not that there's room for another reserve currency. Powell, they're already doing it. They already are acting as a reserve currency. If the Saudis are accepting the Chinese yuan for their oil, then the Chinese are acting as a reserve currency. Are they not? If the Russians are only accepting the ruble for their oil, they're acting as a reserve currency. Are they not? Am I crazy to say that? Like, they're saying there's going to be room for another reserve currency. It's like they're already doing that. If you're only accepting your currency and you're starting to use your currency for national transactions, this has already happened. The Chinese and the Russians have made deals with the Saudis to be able to transact in their currencies. So if they're doing that, then yeah, they are a reserve currency. They're acting as a reserve currency. So, and with that going on, you think that the dollar is going to stay at these lofty levels? If other countries are starting to transact outside of the dollar is going to hold this kind of value? I don't see that happening. So if the dollar plummets, it'll likely do what happened in 2008. The biggest bull run in precious metals of recent time is from 2008 to 2011. So I've brought this up in the past. When we pull up the chart from the 2009 recession, we saw from the high, went from 89 on the dollar index down to its low in 2011 to 72. And that's the same time that we saw gold go and do that same jump. So from 2009, gold jumped to 2011 to its high of 1920 from its low of 690 was its low in the recession, and its high ended up being more than double that, 1926. So that's what happens when the dollar index plummets. When we see the dollar plummet, gold skyrockets. And right now, gold's just sitting up at these levels between 1700 and 1900, and it's down a bit, but at the same time, we haven't seen the dollar index fall. And if the dollar index falls, we're going to see a huge amount of this money flood into gold and silver, which is why I'm so bullish on gold and silver. Then you look at the volatility in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's chart, keep in mind, Bitcoin didn't exist until after the last recession. It's not like it's been around for a very long time. Bitcoin started in 2000, I believe it was just after the recession. This chart doesn't go, I think, as far back as when Bitcoin first started. But look at this volatility going on in Bitcoin. It's insane. So it's like, do I hope that it succeeds? Am I betting on it succeeding? Yeah, I hope it succeeds. And I hope that there is a way to transact outside of all of these crazy currencies out there. And there is a layer that's digital that people can take true custody of and not have to trust a bank. You are your own bank with Bitcoin. If you have one of these cold storage devices, you are a JP Morgan. When you open up your Chase app and you see whatever money is sitting on your app in there, you're trusting that they hold it. You're trusting somebody else with the custody of your fake money, your dollars. But if you at least would have custody of it and you could have the password of your bank account. So there's so much good that could happen from having something like Bitcoin succeed. But in the beginning of it, there's so much volatility. I mean, from its high, going from almost 70,000 down to about 21, 22,000 right now. Now it's still high since its lows in 2020, not too long ago. So 2-3 years ago, it was pretty low, down around 5,000. But still, the volatility is insane. So it can't operate as a currency right now because it's insanely volatile. So people will get the Bitcoin and transfer it into dollars as fast as they can because they can't handle the volatility. But hopefully at some point in the future, it would be nice to see it jump up and then kind of flatline and be a way to transact outside of all these banks. So the idea behind it is a beautiful thing. And that's what makes me so passionate about Bitcoin. And that's why I continue to hold my Bitcoin position. I've never sold any Bitcoin. As much as I want to say, oh, I'm some expert trader that bought at the low and sold at the high, I just kept buying all the way up. So I'm just sitting on a certain amount of Bitcoin at this point, and now it's considered to be money that I'm going to have sitting there for 5-10 years. I just want my Bitcoin to sit on the cold storage device. I had a number in my mind of how many Bitcoins I wanted to own. I got to that number. Now it just sits on cold storage, and I just let it be. And if it succeeds, it does. If it doesn't succeed, it won't change my life. Bitcoin goes to zero, my quality of life doesn't change. And that's how I've always looked at it. And I don't believe in the whole narrative of, oh, you need to be all in Bitcoin or you need to be all in precious metals and nothing else. I believe in having some powder dry. I believe in having a bit of both, but I believe in having a small Bitcoin position. I have much more precious metals than I do Bitcoin. But all in all, also though, with this big pullback in Bitcoin, in silver, we can't exactly beat up on it too much because on its highs, just like with Bitcoin at its highs of 70,000, when silver was at its highs, it was just broke over about 30, right, in 2021. And now from 30, we're down to 19. Now, not as severe as a pullback as Bitcoin, but still, it's pretty severe pullback in silver. What that tells me is it's like, what an opportunity. People in this live stream know that they know the truth that our money's back to nothing and something's bound to change in the near future. And what an opportunity right now to exchange the fake money for real money, to stockpile fake money and use that money to buy real money and have assets outside of the banking system. Like what a perfect time to do this. You got all the few ways that we can take custody of our money are down right now. Like, that's insane. What an opportunity that is. So like that's how I'm looking at it. It's like once you do the work, you understand what money is. And I've talked about this in the past, and it's like part of me wonders what I would be like if I never learned about all of this craziness. If I never learned that the money was back to nothing, if I never learned about how money works, really. I probably would be a little bit happier, but at the same time, I wouldn't be able to spread the message and teach more people about it. And that's kind of the goal of this channel. So if you like what these videos are about, if it helps you in some way, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like and help it get out there to more people. Only if it helps you in some way, though. But it's really hard to go back to seeing, to being in the matrix, so to speak. Once you've exited the matrix and you understand what money really is and what's going on with our money, it just changes everything. And so it's just a matter of time before they roll out a CBDC or something along those lines where they make it so that the paper currency and all the ways to transact outside of the system, even in the currency itself, even if you're using that ledger system of itself, they're probably going to take away the $100 bills, take away all of that. You know how I know that? From being in the collectibles game, I've had $500 bills, I've had $1,000 bills, I've had all kinds of different high denomination notes. Where did those go? Because quite frankly, we didn't need $1,000 bills back in the 1930s, but they had them. Most people don't know that. Most people are going on their Google right now. $1,000 bill. Is there really a $1,000 US bill? Yeah, there is. Back in the 1930s, they had $1,000 notes. They even had all the way up. They had gold notes up to like 100,000. But why don't those exist anymore? They existed back then, but they don't exist now. Why? Well, they probably don't want you to have custody of your money outside of the banks. That simple. Now you got these, like it would be a lot easier for, some rapper or something like that to hold a brick of $1 million and $1,000 bills. That'd be a lot easier to hold $1 million, but we see him holding suitcases of $100 bills. It's like there was higher denominations in the past. We see people holding these big chunks of $100 bills. It cracks me up. It's like look at all this fake money. They only trust me with this denomination, but I got a bunch of it, and it's like, okay. How much longer is it going to last where we can have these pieces of paper? And how long will it be until these pieces of paper are faked by some, anyway. I think the CBDC is inevitable, and they're gonna roll it out, and it already kind of is a CBDC, because when you're moving large quantities of money, you realize that it's already pretty much a CBDC. If you're moving small amounts of money, you might think to yourself, oh, well, I can have a little bit of money outside of the system in cash or whatever. But when you're moving tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, it is a CBDC. They force you to use wire transfers. They force you to use checks. They force you to use ACHs. That system is forced upon you because they want to have documentation of every single transaction within their ledger system. Even though they can operate and inject as much trillions as they want into their ledger system, we have to document every transaction within that ledger system that they have full control over. And that's just the scary part about it all. And that's why I believe so much that right now is the time to escape that ledger system. Make sure you have some sort of cash flow in their artificial fake money, and then move that fake cash flow into real assets like gold, silver, a little bit of Bitcoin. That's how I look at it. And the only reason, and this is the only true reason why I have a little bit of Bitcoin is, well, more than I was expecting to have because it went up a bit, but is I know gold and silver can't be digitized. If I want to use gold and silver, I can use it for high-end barter if you want to sell things in like larger quantities. But when it comes to online, peer-to-peer, things like that, we need some sort of digital network outside of the dollar, outside of currencies, that was able to give you custody in the digital realm. Because gold, we can't trust a custodian with our gold. So that's how I look at it. It's really that simple. And what an opportunity. What an opportunity that we have on our hands right now to actually get this on the cheap. It's crazy. I can't believe, with everything going on, with inflation as hot as it is, that we see silver sitting there at $19.29 right now. I mean, that's a gift. I'm curious to see, like, actually on the that bar right there, this 100-ounce bar, it's actually a pretty cool one. So this 100-ounce bar right here, it's kind of like a brushed metal Silver Farm bar. It's like an old school. I think Silver Farm is from the 1970s, but the quality back on the vintage bars is just a different quality than you see today. It's got kind of like that brushed metal look to it. Way better pictures on the website. But for example, this one will probably get up there. I don't know where it's going to go, but what I'm excited about doing with my auction house and why I'm growing it is, so right now that bar is right here. Let me click that. Currently, it's at 2,050 right now. 2,050 is where that bar is right now. It's a better picture of it. But it's going to be fun to see what these items really go for. Next week, there's going to be a lot more generic material on the website. There's going to be a lot more like just generic 100 ounces, generic 10 ounces, 50s, things like that, to see what silver's really going for. Because if they're telling me that silver's at 1920, 1930, then I want to find out what it's really going for. I want to see what the true premiums are. So I'm going to throw some stuff up there just for fun and see, some more modern pieces and see what it's going for. But we'll see what the premiums really are. If it's at 1929, where do you all think the premiums are? Where do you think the premium is on a 100-ounce bar if it continues at these levels? I'm curious to see what happens. But right now, it's like, what an opportunity it is to have a little bit of Bitcoin. I mean, look at this pullback in Bitcoin. This huge crash from its highs of 70K down to 21. It's like, what an opportunity to have a little bit and put it into cold storage. And then you go, okay, I got a little bit of digital money outside of the system on this cold storage device. Cool. Now I can forget about it, put it over there. Some people, they get greedy and they want to get more and more and more. And I want to go all in on Bitcoin and mortgage my house and get more Bitcoin and all of that. I never have believed in that strategy, even with precious metals. I don't like that whole narrative of, oh, I have this many, I need 10,000 ounces of silver and then I can just stop working, stop contributing to the economy and I'm rich. Like, why is that being preached so much? So many people out there are going, okay, I have this much Bitcoin, I'm rich now. I got this much silver, I'm rich now, I'm done. You could give me $10 million in silver. You give me $10 million in silver, $10 million in Bitcoin, $10 million in gold, and I would still be working 24/7. I would still be building all the stuff that I'm building because I just don't believe in that idea of, oh, I have X amount of this asset and now I just don't work anymore. But that's some weird narrative that keeps going along. But I look at it as how much of my savings, how much of the work that I do and put in can I have custody of? How much of that work can I actually store in my own vault, in my own safe, in my own digital wallets? Like, how much of that can I have? That's what I care about. And that's a narrative that should be going along much more than it is contributing to the economy no matter what, contributing to build stuff no matter what. Too many people, they just want to get some sort of, easy investment and be done with it all. And I just don't believe in that. That's how I look at it. But we'll get to some of these comments really quick. VT247 in the house. I appreciate you, man. He says, good to see you live streaming again. Don't forget to hit the like button, everyone. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Seriously. Been here since the very beginning, man. I appreciate all the support, man. It really is. I mean, when these shadow stats charts, the work that they put in on this website with shadow stats, I highly recommend them. I really enjoy going to the website and kind of scrolling through what they have. You go to this section here and you can look at what they have on inflation, what they have on different the M1 charts and everything. They show the difference between the inflation numbers of what they used back in the 80s versus today. But to see this level of inflation that we saw, and we literally are at a higher level. If you use the same CPI from the 1980s to today, they actually updated this recently. So it's showing how much higher it would be since the highest inflation ever back in the early 80s. We're actually higher than that if you use the same CPI data, which is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane to see inflation that high. The real inflation number is well over 15%, even though they're telling us it's 8.6, it's over 8%. No, it's really over 15% if you use the actual CPI data from back then. I keep forgetting to move myself over, but let me show you guys. It's just crazy. So, like, for me, when I look at, people ask me all the time, what's going on with Bitcoin? Why is Bitcoin down? Why is gold down? Why is silver down? The truth is, it's like, well, we have an artificially high dollar. I don't believe that the dollar is artificially this high. I believe it could easily correct down beneath 90 as it did, in the back here. I think that it could go way, way down and have competition in it. And it already does have competition. Again, it's like if other countries are accepting other countries' currencies outside of the dollar, they're already acting as a reserve currency. Really, like, what is a textbook definition of a reserve currency? It's all of the nations are operating and using that currency to buy commodities with it, right? Well, what is the main commodity? It's oil. And we turned off our oil. We're making it hard to pump oil in the U.S., and then we're begging other countries for oil. We're begging OPEC for oil, telling the oil companies to lower their prices even though they're making it harder for them to drill oil. And then meanwhile, other countries are transacting outside of the reserve currency. They're not using dollars. They're not using the DXY here. They're not using dollars to buy their oil. And now they're only accepting their home currency to accept the oil or to take payment for the oil. So if the Russians are saying, oh, you want our oil? Well, we want gold or the ruble, period. Nothing else. That's what we want. We want gold or the ruble. Now, are they acting as a reserve currency? Are they using dollars? They don't even have dollars on their balance sheets anymore. They've let go of dollars because they know it's about to crash. So for me, I'm looking at this and I'm going, it's just it's an opportunity zone. You have something that is bound to lose buying power, and you know that they're just injecting more money into this system and making it worse and worse and worse. The dollar is getting artificially more powerful, even though we have rampant inflation and things are going at levels that they are. And meanwhile, the universal assets, the assets that are used worldwide, gold and silver, are down while the dollar is up. It's like, what does that tell you? What do you do in this situation? You exchange the dollars for the thing that you can actually take true custody of that's a universal asset. The Saudis are going to be reluctant to accept dollars in the future, but they're not going to be reluctant to accept gold. I bet you they'd take gold right now. I bet you the Russians would take gold right now, but they're going to be reluctant to take dollars. What do you want to be in? I want to be in the true universal currency, the true universal assets. That's how I look at it. That's basically my overall sentiment on it, and it's just opportunity in all of it, in gold and silver and Bitcoin, and there isn't any need for the like headbutting matches between the different assets. Whether I've even seen people getting in arguments on whether silver or gold is better. It's like, get them all. Get them all. Stack as much as you can outside of the system. The other thing in this video, this is kind of a, you guys know that I'm very interested in palladium because there's going to be a big shortage in palladium, but I'm not selling any of my palladium right now. I'm curious what happens here. It's very risky. Palladium's an extremely risky chart, but look at the pullback in palladium and look what it just did. There's just a random spike. I don't know if anybody noticed in this live stream that palladium just had a huge, like 300-point spike in the last couple days here. So from its bottom, I believe this is the 1 month, right? Yeah, so June 13th, a month ago, it was around 1786 was its bottom. Now it's up to 2200. So huge gap back up with palladium. We'll see if it can hold up what it's doing lately. This is the 5-day chart on palladium. From 1907 on its bottom here, 1900s in the bottom, up to 2200. So 300-point gap up so far with palladium. We'll see what happens there, but it's up nearly 9% today. So palladium platinum, I think, is very interesting as well. So I'm very interested in the industrial precious metals because these industries are going to need these precious metals, and there's only so much of it out there. So what's going to happen? You know, it's like just a matter of time, really. It can't keep going this low until something gives. So I'm very interested in what platinum and palladium is doing. Both of them are looking very interesting to me. Silver, I just don't know. I don't know if people are going to even want to mine it this cheap. If they mine it, I don't even think they're going to want to sell it. They're probably going to throw it in their safes themselves and just wait till the price goes up or charge a big premium for it. So that's why I'm curious about what happens with these premiums, because the scary thing about right now is a lot of shops will offer you a little bit over spot, but will they give you the true premium of what silver's really going for? That's what I'm curious about. So if most pawn shops or local shops that sell gold and silver, buy and sell gold and silver, they're going to look at that chart and go, oh, silver's at 19.29. We'll pay you 19.29, or we'll pay you 50 cents back, or we'll pay you 50 cents up, or we might pay you $1 up. Maybe some of them are generous and they'll pay a little bit more than the spot price. But are they going to give you the true value of what that silver bar is actually trading for on a public exchange? And that's what I'm doing with my company, with Mineral Exchange. So I'm hoping that eventually changes the standard and I can continue to grow the company into a much bigger exchange. That's what I'm looking at personally right now is what I'm curious what these premiums will do. So say silver falls to, 11 like it did in the beginning in 2020, like 2-3 years ago. Basically, there was this huge premium where the silver was going for $5 over spot, even for generics. So even though it was at 11, 12, it was still going for 16, 17, 18, sometimes higher because there just wasn't any to meet the demand. There just wasn't any out there to supply the demand. So the demand was so high that people were willing to pay just huge, outrageous premiums just for regular generic. So that is something to consider with physical precious metals, is although this right here affects Peter Schiff's stocks, the SLVs, the PSLV, all the ETFs that are pegged to this. They're not pegged to the physical, they're pegged to this chart. All those, the mining stocks and things that get damaged by this price specifically, people who own the physical change their prices and say, that's too low, I'm not willing to sell there. Period. So that price doesn't apply to me. So that's the truth about taking custody of silver and gold, is where is the custody of that gold and silver? And if you have custody of it, you have the power. You can ask what you want to ask for it. And that's what I'm curious about, is what these premiums are going to be in the future. If it goes down, premiums go up. But at the end of the day, if I was able to talk to Peter Schiff in the future, so if people share my videos, if you hit the like button, if you subscribe to the channel, if you tell some friends about my channel to help it grow, maybe at some point Peter Schiff, he'll look at it and go, okay, fine, I can't turn down this ability to have a conversation and talk about these things. But the truth is, why are you not pushing self-custody? Why are you pushing the idea of holding your money with a custodian? Why is that, Peter? You have no answer. You're backed in a corner. You need to have true custody of the asset. There's nothing else. You can't trust a ETF. You can't trust a mining stock. The truth is, if you're ever going to have any leverage, if the people are going to have leverage and self-sovereignty, maybe you're scared to say the truth. I don't know what it is. Maybe you're financially incentivized to not say the truth. But the truth is, if you give up your custody, you give up your power. So you can't trust some stock of digital nothingness. You can't trust that. You got to have the real thing. So that's what it comes down to. And that's what I always like to bring up in these videos is make sure that you have real custody of your money. Make sure you have real custody of your gold and silver. And don't, just because they say the price is $19.29 on silver and they say the price is $17.41. I mean, gold, look at these drops in gold. It's just insane, the drops in gold that has happened. I mean, gold has plummeted from over 1,800 to down to 1,741. But just because they say that, the premiums will eventually change. And you will see a situation where if you have the physical, you have the power. Specifically, I think even more so in silver, platinum, and palladium, and the industrial metals, if you have the actual asset, there's going to be a demand there that needs those metals for the supply. They need it to build things. So the price is going to go up on the premium, on owning the actual physical silver and platinum and palladium. I think a little bit more so than the gold. But I just don't. What blows my mind is gold is considered universal money everywhere. It's considered universal money around the world. And the reason it's plummeting like this is because we're seeing a dollar index that's showing a ton of artificial strength. And look, see, just in the same chart where you saw those drops in gold, you saw jumps in the dollar. So if the dollar index goes up, this is the dollar index. If the dollar index goes up, this is the same timeline that I just showed you on the gold timeline here. So you see these drops down in gold. On that same timeline, when you look at the DXY, you see the DXY going up. So it's basically saying if the dollar has more buying power, then the price of gold goes down. If the dollar has less buying power, the price of gold goes up. Now, where is the smoke and mirrors in this situation? The smoke and mirrors is the artificial jump in the dollar index while the price is going down in gold with the artificial jump. So it's like, can you see past the smoke and mirrors? What do you do in this situation? That's what I look at myself, and what I think is happening here. It's just very obvious, and I want to basically at least share this information with more people so they don't get kind of scared out of their stacks or scared out of what they're building. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at here. So let me go back. But again, it's like you can either... It's what's the Warren Buffett saying? You know, you buy when others are fearful and you sell when others are greedy. Do you feel greedy holding silver right now? Do you? Do you feel greedy holding gold right now? Do you feel greedy having a bit of Bitcoin right now? No, the price is down. You feel fearful right now. So the fear is in. Okay, well, do you have what it takes to hold? Do you have what it takes to accumulate some more? What are you doing right now to have cash flow to come in so you can continue to buy and not be scared about being able to pay your bills or whatever it might be? I just believe in, like, whatever it is that you're owning, whether it's gold, whether it's silver, whether it's Bitcoin, whatever it is, make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position where you need to sell it to pay for bills. That is the worst place you can be. I see it happening every single day where people who have the cash flow are getting good deals on things because the people who don't have the cash flow are getting liquidated and they have to sell out to get more to pay for things in fiat. So that's happening on a daily basis from what I'm seeing in collectibles. I do my best to get people top dollar for their rare stuff. If it's rare silver and gold, that's my specialty, is more vintage bullion. If you know more about the vintage bullion scene, that's where I come from. Like, this is an actual assay bar. It's a piece from my collection. But things like that is what I personally specialize in, which is usually what shops will rip people off on. You know, they'll go, oh, what's the difference between an Engelhard bar and, you know, a Johnson Matthey bar, or, you know, this modern bar that was made yesterday? It's like, well, the difference is this is one of the biggest precious metals companies in the world that went out of business, and it's highly collectible now, and there's a huge market for them. A lot of people want old Engelhard bars that are the smaller pieces. A lot of people are paying huge premiums for them. So that's my specialty, is getting people fair money for the rare vintage gold and silver. But now it's starting to move more into just modern stuff as well. But that's basically what I'm looking at. and why I built my auction house into what it is today. If you want to check it out, mineralexchange.com is my auction house. You can register for free. If you want to bid, it just costs $1, so you can prove that you're a real person. It's not to profit or anything. You get put on a giveaway list as well when you enter when you pay the $1 to verify your account to bid, but it's actually free. The other thing that's cool about the auction site that I just implemented, let me show you guys really quick. This will be, just so you guys know, this will be a shameless plug. I'm trying to grow my auction house, and I promise you I'm going to be doing really good stuff with this in the future. Right now we're specializing more in rare stuff, but shameless plug here. Let me show you guys what I've been working on. So here's all these auctions. Again, I specialize in more rare stuff, but right here we have like a roll of 1984 Inglehards. That's actually going for a very fair price right now. It's at $555 for a roll of 20 of them, but they're 1984 Englehard prospectors. Not in business anymore, but a cool roll with the original ECAP on it. But things like that I'm throwing up as well. That isn't like a super rare thing, but it'll have a little bit of a premium on it. But what's cool is I actually rolled out an auction history button, so people can see what rare stuff goes for. And you can look out in your local shop. Back in the day, what I would be doing when I was, a hustler, when I was going to pawn shops and different coin shops, this is 5-6 years ago, they would sell bars like this and they didn't know that they were rare. So they bought them from some, a grandma walked in their shop and they bought them from her, and they didn't know, that they had bought a bunch of rare stuff, and they put it in their cases, and they would sell this stuff for very cheap. And I would do my research, and I spent a lot of time studying eBay histories and different places where these things would sell, and I would find an arbitrage situation. And so now I'm allowing people to have that kind of situation for free. To get the catalog of all this, people pay for software to see what stuff sells for. But if you want to learn more about vintage bars and see what a Foster silver bar goes for from the 1960s, 1970s, you want to see what rare stuff goes for, what an Englehard bar, a rare 5-ounce Englehard bar goes for, and what to look out for when you're out there doing your hunting. And if you want a place to sell it for top dollar, info@mineralx.com. Shoot some pictures. I'm happy to help you. So that's basically what I'm specializing in now, but I also have some just regular modern stuff. Well, not modern, but more generic stuff. So we have a pretty cool Johnson Matthey 100-ounce bar recently sold for $2,400. So there's definitely a mixture of cool bars. We have a Sunshine bar that sold for $29. So basically there's all these rare vintage bars right now that you can actually check the price history by going to auction history on mineralx.com or mineralexchange.com. So that way I can help some people with their hunting out there, and if they want to get top dollar for what they found, they can always send it to me to Mineral Exchange, and then I can auction it for them and get them top dollar for it. But right now, that's what I focus on, is a lot of the rare stuff, but I'm also throwing up a lot of just generic stuff in the mix as well. Like right now, we have that 100-ounce bar that's only at $2,050 right now. Got a lot of rare stuff as well, but I'd say the two generics that are on the site right now is the roll of 1984 Inglehards and the 100-ounce Silver Farm. But yeah, mineralx.com or mineralexchange.com. That's the website right there above me. So right above me right there. Make sure you sign up, make an account, and check it out. If you want all of that stuff, it's free again to just be able to see the back end and all of that. But you just need to register an account from the homepage. But yeah, that's what I've been working on. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of work building that. And it's another thing too. It's like, it's one thing to build a website, and the money that it costs to build a website is very expensive. To buy the right domains, very expensive. But to know how to operate it and know how to build the site and like actually upload to it and all that, that is hard. That takes years to learn. So it's cool to see it finally finished, and a lot of action going on there. So it's full. But what's cool is the way that I made my first nest egg was by bouncing around state to state to state, and I don't hide from this. I even tell dealers in the past that I like one-upped, at a show or something like that didn't know how rare an item was. I'll tell them like, yeah, I got you back in the day. I really got you, and we'll laugh about it because that's the game. That's being a hustler. So there's opportunity out there for people to go and scavenge. People watching this video, look on mineralexchange.com what stuff's selling for. Some of it might blow your mind. You might see a 4 or 5 ounce silver bar that's a very rare one go for thousands of dollars and go, wait a minute, I saw one of those in my local shop selling for this amount. They must not know about Mineral Exchange, and I do know about Mineral Exchange, so I'm going to buy that, and I'm going to be able to make top dollar for it and send it over to Rob. So basically, it's like I'm excited to see what people can bring up, and it's already happening. Somebody found a silver eagle's nest and sending that in. So there's going to be a Foster's silver eagle's nest on the lot, and they didn't know how rare it was. And so now it's like it's the ability to open up all the networks that I've built, all of the different clients that I have with Mineral Exchange. I'm opening it up to the public in a sense to get top dollar for their product rather than buying from the public. I'm just selling for the public, which is very interesting. It's a different dynamic, but people are going to be able to make a lot of money if they're able to have a good eye and they study price histories. And now the price history is free for people to look at on the website. That's a very powerful tool there. I should be charging for the price histories, but you know what? People can go look at it and find out what's rare. But really, there's going to be there's opportunities. Garage sales. So I see the dark green marine says, I did that this weekend at a huge garage sale and sniped a 1921 Walking Liberty and an Oregon Trail half for under $100 for both. Nice, man. Nice. So yeah, there's opportunities out there all the time. And that's basically what I want to preach to people is make sure that you do your studying. Just because, don't be afraid to make some money. If somebody else didn't study as much as you studied, then you put in more effort. You put in more work. The knowledge is out there for everyone. They can study on eBay. They can study price histories. But if you do more research than they do, that's opportunity. Opportunity's knocking, So that's how I've always looked at it, at least. Some people, it's funny because as a bit of a flipper myself, when I was buying and selling a lot and doing that, and I still do that every day, but it's like when you watch those Gary Vee episodes, where he's like, yeah, I just ripped that old lady off. I got her good. $5 for that $10,000 item. He'll go all in on it, and it's like, it's kind of funny because some people will watch that and be like, wait a minute, I thought you were a nice guy, Gary. You just ripped that person off. And it's like, no, you didn't. You did more research. And somebody didn't do as much research. So that's how I look at it. And so make sure that you do your research with whatever it is that you're selling. It might be something generic. It might be just a generic 100-ounce bar. But if you don't study what 100 ounces have recently sold on eBay or recently sold somewhere, or gone to my price history on Mineral Exchange, then don't be mad if somebody offers you spot because you didn't do the research for it. Study what things are going for and take advantage of opportunities when they're there and presented to you. Study. That's all I have to say. Like, for example, here's a cool piece. Who in here is from numismatics and can say what this is right here? This is a piece I added recently. There's pictures of this on my Instagram, at Rob Sultan on Instagram, if you check it out on Instagram. But who in here could tell me what kind of holder this is? I bet there isn't anybody in here that could say what this is or has even seen a holder like this. But you pay a lot of money for this plastic, a lot of money. This is a very expensive coin right here. But this is something that you might see in your travels, and then you got an opportunity on your hands. But it's actually a lib. Dollar Doge says Golden Morgan dollar. Yeah, it's a Golden Morgan dollar here. No, it's an 1888 lib. It's a certain type of PCGS holder. It's a certain type. And so, yeah, I can see you diving into a huge vault of gold coins. Yeah, I wish. I'm not quite there yet, but maybe one day in the future I could be a Squirrel Scrooge, and jump into some gold. Let me see here. Coach Alpha Elite says, not silver related, but I stack and earn off price arbitrage. Goodwill Valuables found a gold necklace once. Just the other day I acquired. Other day I found some. Yeah, and there's opportunities out there all the time. Where you can. That's what blows. Like, if I was at zero right now, these are some videos topics that I want to start bringing up, is like, and actually doing them too. It's like, if I was at zero, I would literally be on Craigslist's free section and getting all the stuff for free on Craigslist, scooping it up, getting a cheap warehouse or a cheap storage unit, scooping up as much free stuff as I could, and then saying, moving sale. Just making another thing saying moving sale, sell it all for cash prices, and just have it all, just keep storing all this free stuff in a storage locker, and then just keep selling it every single week and relisting it all on Facebook Marketplace and things like that. I mean, there's so much opportunity out there that for somebody to say like, oh, well, I can't get it done, I can't find a way to make money in this crazy world. It's like, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. There is opportunity left and right. I mean, my whole situation was I've stumbled on the vintage bar scene, 5 years ago, and I found out that there was an arbitrage opportunity, and I got in my car and I drove state to state to state, scooping up as much rare stuff as I could, selling it along the way, throwing it in the mailbox, and keep getting more and more and more. So that's basically what I did. Plumber Stacker in the house. What's up, Plumber Stacker? He gave us big super chat. I appreciate that, man. He says, from Plumber, $20 from Plumber Stacker, says, awesome chat tonight. Hey, I appreciate you being here, Plumber Stacker. Shout out to Plumber Stacker. Appreciate you being in the house tonight, man. We always have such awesome comment sections in here, and it just blows my mind that every time I do these live feeds, I basically don't have to have a moderator or anything, and then I also post these live stream comment sections later on. And so it's just crazy that there's no moderator, and we're able to actually have conversations like this, and people can basically speak their minds in these comment sections. It really is awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate that, Plumber Stacker. Thank you for being here, man. Yeah, I'm looking at let's go through some of these comments and continue to rant a little bit. I was going to do this video for about an hour. We're at about hour 5 minutes right now. So this is usually where I'll say something cheesy, like if we get the likes up to 200 likes up in here, I'll flip the timer and we go for longer. If we get that like button to 200 likes, I'll flip the timer and we go for another 20, 30 minutes. But only if we get ourselves to 200 likes in here. We got one dislike up in the house. There's one person that wasn't liking this information, and so that might hold us back a little bit. But I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you that. Is it legal to tell you that how many dislikes there are on a video? Anyway, I missed that button. Because you used to be able to tell. I don't understand. Well, I think we could jump to a conclusion on why that was taken away. I don't want to get too into detail on it, because then this video gets dropped in the algorithm or something. But it's like, that was a really cool thing. I like the ability to look at a video and go, oh wow, this one, a lot of people like this one compared to the ones that didn't like it. That was definitely it actually helped small channels more. I think it helps small channels more, because they might get only 50 likes, but if there was 0 downs but 50 ups, you knew it was somewhat worthy content. It was something good. So it actually was something that helped the smaller channels, and now only the larger channels are showing hundreds of likes or thousands of likes. And so those are the ones that are watched, and it might not be good content, but you don't know any otherwise. You have to look at the comments, I guess. So I bet you the comment of use my comment as a downvote or something is going to start is way more common than it used to be. But that's something random that I think about all the time. But I'm sure a lot of us in here can jump to conclusions on why that happened. I don't know. Whoever's overseeing this, whatever bot or something, I mean, we're just kidding. We don't know what's going on. Please let us continue to talk for a little bit longer. You never know. Eric Hoffner, do I still like my platinum? I'll be honest with you guys. I have seen this individual's comments on a lot of my videos, and he is one of my best haters. And he's in the live feed, and he's not been muted. He's able to talk, but I will be honest with you. This Eric guy is one of my biggest haters. Whenever he comes around on my comments, says, how's that platinum doing? How's that silver doing for you? How's that Bitcoin doing for you? Ha, 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 ha. He's always coming and being one of my haters, but he never misses a live stream. He's one of my number one haters, but he never misses a live stream. So shout out to you, Eric Hoffner. Shout out to you, man. You're one of those gems out there. But I still do love platinum. I still love palladium. Platinum's on this big pullback right now, and I just don't see it continuing to last. You can't mine platinum for this cheap. And I think that emerging technologies are going to need more platinum and palladium in addition to what they already use it for. But that's my personal take on it. But yeah, that's the one thing. It's like the beauty and even if somebody doesn't like you or wants to push you down and break you a little bit, it's like, well, let them do it. Let them break it down. I like to take the hits, but I will never moderate my comments. I'll never moderate my comment sections or any of my live stream videos. But that was more of a passive one. But I do like my platinum still. I still like my platinum. I'm still a fan of it. I think it's rather cheap right now. I mean, there's a reason why the platinum 1 ounce, they valued it at 100, and the 1 ounce gold, they valued it at 50, because it's harder to get the platinum. They knew that you couldn't, even if the price of platinum skyrocketed or dropped, it couldn't drop lower than $100. So they chose to keep the price at 100 on platinum, but 50 on the gold. Why is that? That's interesting. What do they know? What do they know that we don't know? Something like that. But what do you guys think of platinum? What do you guys think of platinum? I'm curious what the thoughts are in this. 156 watching with 150 likes. We'll get to 200 somehow. We will get there one way or another. We will get to 200 likes. But no, I appreciate you all. Thank you. Seriously. Dollar Dose says, wishing you luck on your channel, going back to crypto now. Good luck with it all. You know, the Dogecoin community, I will say, back when Dogecoin, and people that are a part of my channel, what did I say about Dogecoin in the very beginning? In the very beginning of Dogecoin, back way back when it was going through that SNL skit, that Elon Musk SNL thing, and everybody was betting the farm, betting the house on an SNL skit. They were literally like, now it seems kind of foolish, but at the time, they were like, no, we're all in on this SNL skit. If this is going to the moon based on Elon bringing up Dogecoin on SNL, this is what's going to bring it to the moon. It's going to change the world. That's what's going to do it. And then it plummeted from 70 cents down to, I don't even know where it is now. The Dogecoin millionaire is now homeless. It's unfortunate. But I look at that whole, all of the cryptos, it's hard for me to have any position in anything but Bitcoin. I don't believe in any other project really, because the problem is you want a secure, decentralized digital ledger that is hard capped and is more secure than all the other networks. And the oldest one is there. Like it's Bitcoin. Everything else is an alternative to it. So if I'm going to take a gamble in crypto, the only thing I'm going to hold is a bit of Bitcoin in cold storage. That's it. And then now that I have the amount that I have, I'm done. I'm just sitting on it. It's going to sit there for 5-10 years. And so I'm not even, I mean, if it got low enough, I might accumulate a little bit more, but it's not going to change like my ability to build businesses and keep growing and stuff. I'm not going to stop growing everything that I'm working on just because I have a certain amount of silver, I have a certain amount of Bitcoin or a certain amount of gold. It's not going to change anything. I would continue to grow my auction house. Like right now, the first couple auctions I did about 2 or 3, then it went to 5, then now it's at 4. Like last week we did 20, I believe. This week is 14. Next week will be about 30. And next week, I'll give you guys, you know what, in my live stream, maybe I'll give you guys some heads up on some stuff that's going on the block next week. Do I have them? I think these aren't going on the block next week, but I do have, this one's on the block this week. This one's already on the block this week, but I can give you guys a heads up really quick. One sec. All right. So some of these are actually what's just got sent in. So some of these are on consignment that are going on the website. A person actually, so these bars were about to go to a shop, but I told them, they messaged me them, and I said, I think these are a little bit better bars. I'm curious I know that one of them is a much better bar and goes for a big premium, but this is a vintage CSR silver bar. I think it's Canada Silver Refining. Canadian Silver Refiners. Pretty cool little hallmark on it. But that's going on the website next week. So there's going to be some like semi-generic old school 100-ounce bars on the site next week. This is a really cool BPM 50-ounce bar. That one's going on the site next week. And all of these, by the way, everything on my website starts at $1 with no reserve. And then this is a Delta. I'm sure people that are from vintage silver know that this is a more rare bar. A Delta 100-ouncer here. Really nice one too. That's another thing that's going on the block next week on the website. So a lot of silver is going to be on the block next week. That's just 3 of the items, but I believe next week will be about a 20-30 lot auction. Some really, really cool stuff is going up. Mineralexchange.com. If you want to, even if you just want to watch it, if you want to bid, it's $1 to bid, and you are verified forever on it. Put that over there. But that's a little heads up on some of the stuff that came in. Eventually, maybe on the channel, I should start doing like unboxings or something like that, like the consignments of the week or something, because we got some really cool stuff coming in for next week's auction. All super unique stuff. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. The paper price is a Ponzi. We buy all the dips. It's like it's so true that people don't understand that the value, and this might actually happen with Bitcoin too. So the title of this video is, gold is not Bitcoin, Bitcoin is not gold. Is we know from the gold and silver game that when you hold it, when you have the actual asset, there's a different premium that's attached because you have real custody of it. When you trusted your Bitcoin with Celsius, or you trusted your Bitcoin with TerraCoin or whatever stable coin out there, but you didn't own the Bitcoin in your own cold storage, you lost it. You don't even own it anymore. So is there going to be a premium on cold storage Bitcoin? You better believe it. Bitcoin outside of the institutions, outside of Coinbase, outside of Celsius, outside of all these custodians, it's going to have a huge premium on it. So if you have that small Bitcoin position and you don't have it in a cold storage device, you're really missing the train there. In the future, I think I'm going to start accepting Bitcoin on the website in the future, but I want to wait till it gets a little bit more stable. It's just so crazy right now with Bitcoin. So, but I'll tell you what, the things that I have to jump through, if I accept PayPal, you're already losing 3% off the top. The customer has to pay another 3% if they have to pay with PayPal, and they're going to reflect that in their bid. So whatever payment method you're using, you're going to reflect that in your bid, and it's going to affect the bid price. Already there's the 10% buyer's fee, and that's why we started all at $1 so that the person can basically say, okay, well, I'm willing to spend $250 on that, so that means I'm going to spend $225. I'm going to spend $220 on my bid because I know that there's the 10% there. So whatever your payment method is, it affects the price point on what you're willing to pay for an item and what the seller is willing to sell an item for. So that is the big problem here, is that what goes on with all of these different payment processors is how much of a percentage they take. And something like Bitcoin will change that. So I really hope that Bitcoin succeeds. I really hope that it stabilizes and succeeds, because we need something like that in the world today. We need a digital payment ledger that operates outside of the current crazy powers that be. And also we need more competition. Like if Zelle starts, if these banks really wanted to do the right thing, like Zelle exists, right? So these banks, what happened, and we'll probably end the video on this. Maybe I'll go through a few more comments because I don't want to go too long on these live streams, but it's very telling that Zelle came out after Venmo and Cash App. So Venmo and Cash App was blowing up. A lot of people were using Venmo and Cash App. And then what happened is their game is getting as much of the fake money outside of the banks and putting it into their Venmo bank and their PayPal or whatever it might be. And now those banks have more power because they hold more of this, Ponzi money. And because the Wells Fargo, the Chase Bank, the Bank of America, all these big banks saw how much money was flooding out and into these payment platforms, these Venmos, these Cash Apps, all these different things. They saw that and they go, oh, we have to compete now. We have to do something about this. And that's what competition does to the banks. They got to start acting right. If there's competition, the banks end up acting right and start begging you for the business again. And so what did they do to get the money back into the banks? Well, they said, okay, we'll give them fine. It was easy to do this a long time ago, but we'll finally roll out Zelle. We'll finally let them do peer-to-peer payments from their bank account to another person, but we'll limit them to $2,000 or $2,500 or $500 the first transaction. But that was their way to combat Venmo and Cash App. But still, it's not the same as having a payment network outside of the Ponzi schemes. It's not the same. And so that's what we're seeing more on. But if the banks really wanted to do the right things, they could make Zelle so easy to use, and they could do it for any amount. You could Zelle for any amount. It's my money. It's my money that you're holding. So why is there a cap on your Zelle? If you have the capability of sending my money to another bank and you're both FDIC insured, why isn't there at least the ability to send up to the FDIC insured amount? It's my money. Why is there a $2,000 limit? Why do we have to go through all of these things with the Zelle? What is that all about? I would make business so much easier. But if it's already money in a bank account that you have custody of, there is no need for verification. There is no need for a cap of 2,000 here. So these banks, like, they're just blatantly ripping us off because they want to make the fees of a wire transfer. That's what they want to do. And the wire transfers, it's like Zelle is an instantaneous, they have the technology to do a copy-paste instantaneous network like that, like Zelle, and they choose to only allow you to do to a certain amount, and then otherwise it's a wire transfer. So we see through that. People in this live stream, we see through that. It's crazy. You know, why is there limits on getting our money out? I think that's what people need to understand is once you have custody of your money, you have full control over it. There's nobody telling me I have to shave down pieces of this silver bar at one at a time. Oh, why do you have 300-ounce bars on your counter? You can only take 20 ounces of silver at a time. It's like, no, it's actually all mine. I could do it. I could sell all of it. I could hold all of it. I could do whatever I want with this silver. It's my silver, and I'll hold it or do whatever I want to do with it. That's what people need to understand is that whenever somebody limits your ability, what is the Celsius doing, for example? So Celsius, I should pull them up. But you could just Google Celsius Bitcoin. Celsius scammed everybody because they said, we'll give you an interest rate on your Bitcoin. We'll loan out your Bitcoin, and then we'll give you an interest rate, and we're the custodian of your Bitcoin. You want to know what they did? They took away the ability to withdraw the Bitcoin from their service into your account. If there is somebody paying you an interest on your money, what do? They take custody of it, and they always put some sort of timeline. So we'll hold your money, but we need it for at least a year. And then in that year, they go insolvent and they lose all of the money. That's really what it comes down to is why, if somebody is trickling, if holding back the ability for you to withdraw the money or to transact with the money, obviously they're a scam. Obviously there is something horribly wrong there. If there is a cap on, if you have $10,000 at a bank and they say, no, you can only use Zelle up to 500. No, you can only take 300 at a time out of the ATM. No, you can only, it's like, why? You have 10 grand of mine. I want the whole 10 grand at any different method that I choose. It's all my money. If I want to Zelle it somewhere, I want to Zelle it somewhere. If I want to do that, that's where you can see through the scams is when they don't allow you to withdraw the funds. What happens to the stock market if it falls over 13%? What happens? There's a circuit breaker. There's a circuit breaker and nobody can buy or sell. What happens there? Is that not blatantly obvious that they want to force you to keep your money in that system? What happened to all the people that short squeezed GME stock? Robinhood only allowed you to sell. They didn't allow you to buy anymore. They only allowed you to sell. All of these funnels, all of these mechanisms to hoard your fiat currency in different places is so obvious and so telling that this is what they are trying to do. It's just blatantly obvious to me. And as I continue to develop payment networks, because right now with my company, with Mineral Exchange, we can only accept wires, checks. We can do PayPal, but we got to charge 3% more, which is awfully annoying. But some people are opting to do that. It's not that big of a deal, but it's very annoying. If somebody buys a $1,000 item, they have to spend another $30 on PayPal fees. It's like it's annoying, and I don't want people to have to deal with that. But checks, wires, PayPal, and that's pretty much it. And so it's like, why is there not the ability to send money peer-to-peer without fees? It's our money. We want to spend it on stuff. Why is there fees everywhere if it already exists? If Zelle, anyway, I'll keep rambling on it, but that's the truth. I'm just telling you guys, if you want something to be skeptical about, it's what are the governors in place? If there's a governor, a lot of us like motors around here. It's like if there's a governor in place, you're not getting the full power of that vehicle or whatever it is that you have a governor on. So why are there governors in place in my investments? If I'm investing my money, my hard-earned money with you, why are you placing governors? Why do you have the audacity to place governors on my money? None of my money should be governed. None of it, period. And that's what more people need to start telling their banks. Look, if you don't stop putting governors on my Zelle, I'm taking all of my money. I don't care. Fine, we'll do a wire transfer. You can type away on your screen, but I'm taking all of it and I'm turning it into silver. I'm turning it all into whatever it is. That's what you need to, with more and more people, like that's the real movement. The real movement isn't this whole like, oh, let's squeeze a stock and everybody gets rich, or let's squeeze a crypto and let's all get rich. The real movement is take power back into the people's hands. It's something that I'm scared to say because it's actually the true answer. It's the real answer. If people want a change, if they want their banks to pay them a fair interest rate, if they want their banks to start not overcharging them to do wire transfers and go through all of this crap, if they want to send large amounts of money, if you want that to change, you take your money from them. You take your money from them, change it for these undervalued assets, and then hold your money on the outside and say, oh, you want my money again? Oh, you want my money again? Well, then maybe you should pay an interest rate to compensate for the inflation that you all created at the central banks yourself. You guys wanted to print all that money, not me. You printed all that money and created 8-9% inflation on your numbers, which is really around 20% on the real numbers. You created that inflation, not me, not the American taxpayer. You guys created it. So why don't your banks pay us a 10% interest rate on the money they hold of ours to compensate for this out of control inflation? Everyone could afford their gases and everything, right? If they at least paid an interest rate to compensate for the inflation. If you're holding my money, you should at least pay me an interest that compensates for the inflation. Minimum. But that's not, you're never going to see a bank paying you 10%. Never. Ever, ever. And so it's like you have gotten very comfortable on your little pedestals. You've gotten very comfortable holding our money hostage. Because just wait, when people take their money out, that is when they're going to start feeling it. And I want to see them feel it more. I really do. And that's the real movement that I want to get behind, is people getting the power back in their hands and then looking at their banker across the counter and going, look, all my money's in my hands now. You want my money? You're going to have to pay up for it. No more free loans for you, Jamie Dimon. No more free loans for you, buddy boy. You're rich enough. We're done bailing you out like we did in 2008 in the last recession. Watch them try to do it again. Go through a recession again. They'll try to use the people's money to bail them out again. It's crazy what they get away with. Bite Hunter in the house. Bite Hunter said, gave me a super chat for $9.99. Appreciate that, Bite Hunter. And says Zelle is connected to shady banks which charge tons of money in fees. It's true. It's true. You know, it's their way to keep your money in their circus show. If they ever see their money leaving, why did they create Zelle? It adds so much merit to what I'm talking about taking custody of your assets and taking it out of the system, because now you're no longer a number to them. Now you're a number that was released from their stockpile. They have all of our money. They're sitting on all of it. But so if more and more people start taking the money out, that's when they change and they come out with a Zelle, because they're going, oh, too much money is leaving. Too much money is leaving and going into Venmo and Cash App and all this stuff. We got to do something about this. Okay, fine. Give them Zelle. Fine. Give them it. That's why they do something like that. But you better believe if there was no competition, if there wasn't capitalism, these banks would do everything they possibly could and get away with everything they could and not give the public an inch. Not an inch. That's why they pay less than 1% interest on our money when inflation is as high as it is. They're making a bloody fortune on their loans. They make a bloody fortune on their credit cards, all their loans, all their fees, but they can't even compensate us in interest rate to compensate for inflation that the central bank created themselves. Why is that? What is that all about? If I want to get a loan for a house, I'm paying what, 6, 7, 8% now? But they can hold my money for free? In the business, in the collectibles business, it's known to pay a point a month. If you're late on an invoice, if you're upfront about it, you'll say, I owe you an extra % every month that I owe you. And that's a common thing. And you're lucky if someone will do that for you. So it's like everybody pays interest except for the banks. They don't pay interest to the people that they hold the money for. Everybody makes interest. The central bank makes interest. The commercial banks make interest. All the credit cards, everything that they provide makes a ton of interest. Huge APRs, over 20%, 30% on these APRs. They make a fortune on it. But the people don't even make a percent. With inflation as high as it is, they don't even make a percent. These scammers. These bloody scammers. And when people leave their money in these bank accounts, it blows my mind. It's like, and then they have the audacity to make the money hard to get. Like the audacity of these banks. First, you don't pay an interest rate to compensate for inflation that you created yourself. And then secondly, you make it hard to get the money that you don't pay any interest on in the first place. Like, it's pretty sick. It's pretty sick if you think about it. But yes, you're right, Bite Hunter. I totally agree with you. Thank you for the $10. I appreciate that. I never miss those super chats. If I take a second to get back to you, I'm usually just rambling, but I never miss those. Yeah, they offer the 1% back credit cards, even though the APRs on them are 20% plus. It's just crazy. The whole system is like, once you see past it, everybody. I see so many people with the blinders on, and they don't understand the way that the money works. And they work. And the sad part is people are working jobs, getting paid in wages that are being paid in a money that is inflated while their wages are deflationary. The currency the wages are paid in is inflationary, and the wage themselves is deflationary or stagnant, or just the same. So and it's going to start compounding too, because inflation's staying very strong and it's continuously going up and up and up and staying there. So it's going to start compounding the inflation levels. So people think it's bad now. And who's going to be able to pay these high rent prices and stuff? And when they can't pay their high rent prices, what's going to happen to the people that need to pay their mortgage? When they can't fill the slots to pay for their house that they overpaid for, they were hoping they overpaid for this house, and now they got some $5,000 mortgage, and they were hoping somebody was out there to rent it from them for $6,000, $7,000. What's going to happen to them when they don't find that renter that can pay the $6,000, $7,000? What's going to happen? Because only so many people can pay that rent. That keeps the rent goes through inflation, but I believe rent prices went up like something like 50% or something like that, 30 to 50% the rent prices. But at the same time, did your wage go up 30 to 50%? Did it? Because mine, I keep building a business, but whatever it is that somebody else, whatever it is that you're doing, is that going up by 30 to 50%? Year over year? If your rent is going up that much, is your boss coming up to you or wherever you get your money, if you're own business or whatever it is it going up by 30 to 50% to compensate for the jump in prices of that rent? I doubt it. I don't think a boss is going to somebody that gets paid 10 grand a month or something like that and going, you know what, your rent is costing you a lot more money. I got to pay you $15,000 a month now, not $10,000 a month. I highly doubt that's happening. I highly doubt it. So that's how I look at it. That's how I look at it. You know what, Aiden, you're right. The boss has been actually overseeing operations right now. I got to keep him near computers right now. So he's actually overseeing operations right now. So he's actually not on video, but usually he's up on the counter over there. I said I would go for another 30 minutes if we got to 200 likes. We got to 172 and I still went for 30 minutes anyway. So maybe I can get to 200 likes now. Who knows? But I'm looking at some of these comments right now. If I'm looking this way, I'm looking at comments. If I'm looking that way, I'm looking at my screen. There's 3 screens here. I got this little supercomputer. So if you guys see my eyes moving around, the camera's there, comments are there, and that's where my screen is that I can show you guys what's on my screen. But yeah, the whole situation that we're in right now, it blows my mind. And I think it's just a matter of time before something's got to give. And I don't think that the dollar is going to be able to hold these lofty levels. Right now, it's the best of the worst of these currencies. But I really do think it's a matter of time before there's competition that comes out, which already has happened. We've talked about it in this video where there's other countries accepting other countries' currencies for their commodities, which is literally what a reserve currency is. I would put a definition on a reserve currency as nations that use this currency to buy commodities from another nation. That would be what I think is a reserve currency. This nation is here. This nation is here. What they transact with here for the assets in each nation, the commodities in each nation, that's what the reserve currency is for that transaction, right? Seems pretty simple to me. So if the Saudis over here and they accepted Chinese yuan over here and they traded oil for Chinese yuan, well then obviously the yuan was acting as the reserve currency in the center. Is it not? Like, it just seems very obvious here. And if that's happening, do you think the DXY is going to stay up at these levels? I don't. I don't. It's what happens when you manipulate the ledgers that you have. People don't want to use your currency. It's what happens when you kick people off of your network. If you have a network and everybody operates on your network and you say, no, you can't be on my network because you did something bad. Like, do you think they're going to come back to your network? No, they're not. They're never going to want to be back on Swift. If you weaponize Swift, they're not coming back. It's like, it's so obvious what's happening in front of our eyes. It's like, and right now is the opportunity to actually have real assets that are recognized worldwide. So on that note, I think that's a good note to end the video. But I will shill my website one more time. Again, all these bars that I showed you over here, all going to be auctioned on mineralexchange.com. All auctions start at $0 or $1. All auctions start at $1 with no reserve. That way the customers are able to put the bid at what they feel it is worth at the time. So that is what's fun about these weekly auctions. When I do the weekly auctions, basically it's just as simple as that. All auctions are no reserve, start at $1 on Mineral Exchange. Let me show you the site one more time. So this is this week's auction on Mineral Exchange. So these all auctions, by the way, on the website, they start on Mondays and they end on Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Always will end on Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Never changes. The auction site that's why you see all these timers here all going down the same time. They all end at Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So it makes it really easy to just go, yeah, let's check the website and see what stuff's going for on Sundays. That way people are able to know when everything ends, when everything starts, and you can check it out during the week. We do a weekly email where it basically tells you this is what's on the block, and then that's what's ending on Sunday. So check it out, mineralexchange.com. Right now it's more rare stuff. Next week there's going to be a lot of just regular silver bars on there. So we'll see what happens. Dennis is right. I started a small eBay, and you can even sort stuff too. So you can sort high to low. You can sort, and you can do the search on whatever you're looking for. I'm pretty proud of it, to be honest with you. It's not easy making a miniature eBay. It really isn't. So the fact that you can do it in this way, and you can have your own account, you can see all the things that you're bidding on, all of that stuff. It's very intuitive and easy to use. And it also has the auction history. So if you're curious about what stuff sold for, it's like, I want to know what these vintage bars are selling for, these crazy vintage bars that are going for $1,000 an ounce. Like, I want to find out what these look like, what they sell for. You can find out now with the auction history, and you can see what stuff sold for, what time it sold, all of that. And it's a really cool photo gallery just to see pictures of all these rare bars. It's fun. So I'm starting out with rare stuff because that's the stuff that people really get excited about, but we're slowly moving into regular generic stuff as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun, seeing where this goes, but definitely check it out. Mineralexchange.com. It's just another thing to watch too. If you want to know what stuff is going for, it's a good site. I wish it existed. Tell you what, when I was busy doing my silver hunting back in the day, I wish I had a website like that. And by the way, we're charging less than eBay. So eBay charges 13%. Our fees are just 10% flat. Now I made it so that it's a situation where the buyer has power and the seller has power. So a consignor gets to send. So when the person consigned these bars here, and this is for people so you know, if you have some bars in your collection that you've paid a good amount of money for and you want to make sure that you get a good amount of money for it if you ever do need to sell it or want to sell it. So these bars are on consignment. I actually don't own these bars. These bars right here, this Delta 100 ounce and this bar here is on consignment. And what happens is when someone consigns it, they pay $0. There's no cost to consign, where other auction houses, they charge about 10% to consign, sometimes more than that, up front from the consignor. So that doesn't work, especially when they'll charge the consignor and then they'll charge a buyer's fee after that. So they'll charge 20-30% as a buyer's fee, but they'll charge the consignor prior to that. So I don't believe their cut should be 30% like it is in these other auction houses. So I dropped it down to just 10%. But if I'm going to make the buyer pick up the 10% for the consignor, well, then the auction has to start at $1 with no reserve. I didn't want to just do auctions where there's a reserve on it. If the buyer's paying the 10% buyer's fee, and that's the only fee, so I'm already way lower than the other's buyer's fee, but I charge $0 to consign. So the consignor then is understanding to put no reserve because they didn't lose 10% like the other auction houses charged them. So the consignor wins because the consignor got to consign the item for free, and then I deal with all the shipping, all the logistics, all the stuff like that, and they get all done in-house. So way better marketing than eBay. Way more eyeballs on individual items than eBay will get you. Way better photography, way better shipping, just a much, much better operation. And it's 3% less than eBay, all fees in. And so if I'm going to get if the consignor is going to get that kind of a service for free, what I require as the auction house is them to run it at $1 with no reserve. That's my requirements. Because I want the buyer to know that they're being looked out for as well. Because if you want to bid $3,000 on one of these bars, for example, let's just say number on this Delta is a rare 100 ounce bar, say $3,000 you want to bid. Well, then you can take into your hands, well, then I'm going to bid $2,500 or $2,700 because I need to take into account that there's that 10%. So that puts the power in your hands, and at the same time puts the power in the consignor's hands at the same time. So it's a fair trade-off where the consignors are comfortable doing no reserve because they didn't have to pay that 10% or any fees up front, and the buyer is comfortable with it because it started at $1 with no reserve. So that's something I put that in my mind, and I envisioned it to be a reality, and it's finally coming to be now. And if people are wondering what the business model is, it's that. It's really that simple. Do I have a personal stack, Beto? Do you follow me on Instagram? Do you follow me on Instagram? Do you follow me on YouTube? Do I have I own all of this except for this. I got a personal stack. I got a little bit, just a little bit. Trust me, I put my money where my mouth is on this stuff. But I love it so much that I feel when I wake up in the morning and I get to keep building the stuff that I'm working on, I'm really excited. I overwork. It's Friday. What time is it right now? It's 9:00 where I'm at on a Friday night. It's 9:00 where I'm at on a Friday night. I do live streams at that time. It's like so. And when I get off this live stream, I'm just going to continue to be working. So I never stop working. Sometimes I like people to think that I get lazy sometimes, but the truth is I'm nonstop working all the time, 24/7. So if you put in 18-hour days every single day and you never stop, there's nobody that if somebody's only putting in, say, 5-hour days, but you're putting in 18-hour days, day after day after day after day, they're going to look at what you're building and go, how did you do that? How did you build that? How did you get to that level? And it's because you were working when other people weren't. It's really that simple. It's like if you're working 18-hour days, but other people are working 6-hour days, well, you're getting 3x more done than them. That's basically what it comes down to. Yeah. I mean, and it's crazy to see compounding efforts turn into something. Way back in the day, I used to always say, I'm going to have my own auction house. I'm going to build my own auction house. Just wait, it's going to happen. I'm going to build my own auction house. And then now to see it actually in operation with all of these bids going on and everything happening now, it's like, it's crazy. It's crazy seeing it happen. And so now I feel that it really is a huge value for all people involved. Like I wanted to look at it from the buyer's perspective, and I wanted to look at it from the seller's perspective. And for example, these bars that the person consigned, I don't think they're going to get more money anywhere else than they're going to get on the site. So it's going to be fun to see what happens. There's a lot of people that don't understand the business model, but I feel like if I'm just very upfront about it and I tell everybody exactly what is going on there, I think they'll start to understand what is happening and like how much of a better business model this is than all of it. Because keep in mind, when you're bidding on something on eBay, that seller is losing 13%. And they had to deal with all the work too. They had to deal with photography. They got to deal with shipping. They got to deal with all the eBay stuff, whether there's a scammer on eBay. Also on eBay, when you're buying silver from me, from Mineral Exchange, it's all XRF tested. I have a $20,000 XRF machine that tests silver bars all the way through, literally x-rays through the silver bar to verify its purity. Does eBay do that on every single silver bar? I doubt it. I doubt it. People get scammed every single day there. So everything that comes in, I'm hoping that the day doesn't happen where somebody sends something in for consignment and I have to tell them it's fake. We can't auction it. I have to send it back to you. I'm sorry. But everything that comes in gets tested. So you have a place where it's been verified. And so that's part of what's going on with my site is it's so much better to know that it's all these silver bars, especially if it's a rare bar. If it's a rare silver bar, you want to know that it's real silver. You want to know that it's the real deal. So it's really it's a big perk to have things come into Mineral Exchange and then exit Mineral Exchange after being tested here and all of that. So you know that everything's legit. But yeah, I'm excited about the website, excited about everything that's going on. Check it out, mineralexchange.com. Tons of plugs in this video, but tons of valuable information as well. So I hope it was valuable to you. We did get over 200 likes, so I appreciate all the likes, everybody. But we're going to call this one. We already went for another 45 minutes. So I appreciate everybody being here. Appreciate all the likes. Appreciate all the love. Going to start doing these Friday night lives more often. I think I'm going to get back to doing it every single Friday. But whenever I have the time, I do these Friday night lives, and I will be doing a lot more videos as well on this channel. But this is a subject I wanted to bring up, especially because gold and silver's on a big pullback and Bitcoin's on a huge pullback, even more of a pullback with Bitcoin. But I see that as opportunity. really. And I see there's a big lack of understanding in what Bitcoin is and what gold is and why they're both so great, why silver and gold are so great, and why it's good to have a little bit of Bitcoin as well. I feel like there's just a total misunderstanding, and it comes from not taking a deeper look at the monetary system for what it is and looking past the smoke and mirrors and what is needed in the future. So, yeah, that's the video. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a great rest of your night, and I will see you at the next one.